Picture this. Beneath the crumbled stones of a forgotten temple, deep in the sands of the ancient world, lay scrolls covered in strange symbol letters that looked alive as if they held the breath of the universe itself. These were not ordinary writings. They were whispers of a knowledge older than the religions we know today. They spoke of hidden laws, not of men, but of the cosmos, not commandments, but blueprints. This was the beginning of something later called Kabbalah. Most people think Kabbalah started in medieval Judaism, but its roots stretch much further back. Long before the name Kabbalah was used, fragments of this mystical knowledge were circulating in Babylon, ancient Egypt, and among early Hebrew visionaries. These weren't priests in the usual sense. They were seers, mystics, and philosophers, people who looked beyond rituals and rules, searching for the invisible threads that connected everything. They asked the kind of questions religion couldn't answer. Why was the world created? What is the soul? Can a human being really understand God? One of the earliest hints of this secret knowledge appears in Babylon, where a class of sages believed that everything in existence came from a single divine source. They claimed that the world of form and matter was only a veil, a shadow of something more real. These ideas echoed later in Egypt, where mystery schools taught that divine forces moved through everything and that sacred knowledge could transform a person's soul. Among the Hebrews, a unique thread began to form. Unlike the philosophers of Greece or the magicians of Egypt, the Hebrew mystics believed in one infinite creator, but they also believed this creator could be approached through inner transformation. The earliest Kabbalists were not writing public books or leading rituals in temples. They were meditating in caves, wandering the deserts, and recording visions on scrolls only their disciples could read. The word Kabbalah comes from a Hebrew root meaning to receive, but it doesn't just mean receiving information. It means receiving something directly from a higher realm, something living. Kabbalah was never meant to be read like a textbook. It was meant to be received by a soul prepared for it. That's why, for centuries, it was kept secret. Not because it was dangerous in a worldly sense, but because it was powerful. In the wrong hands, it could be misused. In unprepared minds, it could lead to confusion, even madness. For most of history, Kabbalah was passed on orally, teacher to student, master to initiate. Only after deep preparation could a person be introduced to the core teachings like the Tree of Life, the 10 Sephirot, or the nature of Ein Sof, the infinite. Even then, everything was written in symbolic language, stories, letters, numbers, and riddles. This wasn't to hide the truth, it was to protect it, and to make sure that only those who were truly seeking could find it. So who were these early Kabbalists? They were not priests, rabbis, or scholars in the way we think of them today. They were people obsessed with truth. Some were ascetics, some were poets. Some were mathematicians who believed that numbers revealed the structure of the divine mind. They saw the entire Torah, the Hebrew Bible, not just as a law book, but as a coded living document with secret meanings hidden in its letters. And then, for centuries, this knowledge was buried, locked behind traditions, burned in fires, or simply forgotten, until something began to change. As the world became more connected and as spiritual hunger began to rise again, Kabbalah slowly resurfaced, not in its full original form, perhaps, but in fragments, in translations, in whispers, and in books that suddenly appeared in public view. Now, in our time, people around the world are once again drawn to it, not for religious reasons, but because it speaks to something deeper. It doesn't offer rules, it offers understanding. It doesn't demand belief, it invites exploration. And so, what was once hidden beneath the ruins of temples is now being rediscovered page by page, word by word, soul by soul. Before anything existed, before light, time, or space, there was Ein Sof. Kabbalah teaches that Ein Sof is the infinite, not a being, not a god in a human-like sense, and not even a force. It is beyond all definition. You cannot draw it, imagine it, or speak of it with full accuracy. Ein Sof has no beginning, no end, no form, and no limits. It is not something, it is everything and nothing at once. The ancient Kabbalists said that if you try to define the infinite, you lose it. It slips through the fingers of language. Yet they also said this mysterious source is the root of all existence. Every star, every soul, every thought and action comes from this boundless origin. But here's the mystery. If Ein Sof has no will, no form, and no need, why did anything come from it at all? Why is there a universe? Why are we here? Kabbalah answers this with a powerful image. Before the universe, there was only infinite light. This light filled everything. There was no space, no separation, nothing outside of it. It was complete in itself, but somehow, this light chose to make space. It pulled itself back to make room for something else. This moment is called the Tzimtzum contraction. This is the first paradox. The infinite, which lacks nothing, made a space to allow something other than itself to exist. The Kabbalists taught that in this empty space, a ray of the original light entered and began to form the universe. But this light could not be received directly. It was too powerful. So it had to be filtered, broken down, structured. This is where the 10 Sephirot come in 10 vessels or channels through which the light flows. Each one represents a different quality of the divine, like wisdom, strength, beauty, and compassion. But at this point, we are still dealing with the infinite. The vessels had not yet fully formed. The light rushed in, and the vessels shattered. This cosmic event is called the Shattering of the Vessels, or Shevirat HaKalim. From the fragments of those broken vessels came our world, a reality of separation, confusion, and hidden light. What we call the world is made of these fragments. The divine spark is still inside them, but hidden under layers of form, matter, and ego. The goal of Kabbalah is to restore what was broken, to bring the scattered sparks back to their source, to reconnect with Ein Sofnat by understanding it, which is impossible, but by aligning with its intention. That intention, Kabbalists say, is to give. The infinite gives endlessly, without condition. Our task is to receive properly, with awareness and humility, and then to give in return. Even though we can never fully grasp Ein Sof, we can draw closer to it by transforming ourselves, by refining the way we think, speak, act, and feel, by learning to see the hidden unity behind the apparent chaos. So what is Ein Sof? It is a divine nothingness that contains everything. It is the silence before the word, the ocean before the wave, the source that hides so that we may discover. To approach Ein Sof is to move beyond fear, beyond control, beyond the need to understand everything. It is to stand in wonder, to live in mystery, to act with love and purpose, even when we don't have all the answers. And in doing so, we begin to mirror the infinite in our own limited way. We become part of the return, part of the healing, part of the story. In the beginning, there was only divine light. It filled everything. There was no space, no time, and no separation. This light came from the infinite, from what Kabbalah calls Ein Sof. But the light needed a way to express itself, to pour into creation, and to be received. So a structure was formed to hold it. This structure was made of 10 vessels. Each vessel represented a specific aspect of divine energy. These aspects are known as the Sephirot. The Sephirot were like channels, designed to receive and transmit the light of the infinite, but they were not yet ready to handle the intensity of that light. When the divine energy flowed into them, they could not contain it. The light was too powerful, too direct. The vessels shattered. This moment is called the shattering of the vessels. Kabbalah describes this event as a kind of spiritual explosion, a cosmic breakage. The light, once unified, became fragmented. The vessels, once whole, broke into pieces. And with them, countless sparks of divine light were scattered. These sparks fell into the lower worlds, the denser layers of creation, including our material world. This is the origin of chaos. This is why the world feels broken. It is not simply a mistake or a flaw. It is a necessary stage in the unfolding of creation. Without the shattering, there could be no free will, no individual perspective, no journey of return. The breakage allowed the light to become hidden inside matter. It allowed the spiritual to be clothed in the physical. It allowed us to exist. But the story does not end there. According to Kabbalah, these scattered sparks of divine light are trapped inside everything. Inside people, inside objects, inside events, even painful ones. Every part of the world contains something sacred, though it is often hidden under layers of ego, confusion, or suffering. This is where the concept of Tikkun Olam comes in. It means repairing the world. Our job as human beings is to find these lost sparks and lift them back to their source. Every good deed, every kind word, every conscious thought has the potential to free a spark. When we act with awareness, when we choose truth over illusion, when we grow through hardship instead of collapsing into despair, we are participating in the great repair. The sparks are not just in holy places, they are hidden in everyday life, in conversations, relationships, work, nature, and even in mistakes. Kabbalah teaches that nothing is random. Everything you encounter has the potential for spiritual elevation. The world appears broken because it is made of fragments, but it was meant to be that way. The task is not to escape the brokenness, but to engage with it, to transform it. Every soul has a unique set of sparks to redeem. That is why no two lives are the same. What you experience, what you struggle with, what you long for, these are all clues pointing to the specific sparks that belong to your journey. And here is another key teaching. Just as the world is broken, so are we. The human soul also contains fragments. We are not born whole. We come into life with pieces of self that must be discovered, healed, and united. As we work to repair ourselves, we help repair the world. And as we work to heal the world, we also heal something deep within ourselves. So, the shattering of the vessels is not just a story about creation, it is a map for living. It explains why pain exists, why beauty is often hidden, why we feel like something is missing. But it also explains why our actions matter. In every moment, you are either adding to the brokenness or helping to restore what was lost. This is the work of Kabbalah, not escape, not judgment, but repair. Quiet, constant, sacred repair, one spark at a time. The Tree of Life is one of the most important and mysterious teachings in the Kabbalah. It is not a literal tree. It is a spiritual diagram, a map that shows how the divine energy flows from the infinite realm into our world. It explains how God created everything, how the universe functions, and even how your own soul works. The Tree of Life is made of 10 levels. These are called the 10 Sephirot. Each one is a step in the process of creation, but they are more than just cosmic stages. They also reflect your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. The Sephirot are both outside and inside you. Let's begin at the top. The first Sephirah is Keter, which means crown. It is the highest, most hidden aspect of divine will, Keter is not something you can grasp with the mind. It represents the pure desire of the infinite to create and to give. In a human being, Keter corresponds to the source of your own will and purpose, the deep, silent part of you that moves before thought. The second is Chokmah, wisdom. This is the flash of inspiration, the seed of an idea. In the divine world, it is the beginning of thought. In your mind, it's that moment when something suddenly becomes clear, even before you can explain it. Next comes Bina, understanding. This is where the flash of insight from Chokmah takes shape. Bina takes the raw idea and develops it into something with structure. In your own life, it is the part of your mind that organizes, analyzes, and reflects. Bina also represents the motherly force that nurtures and gives form to creation. These three Keter, Chokmah, and Bina form the top triad. They represent the intellectual and spiritual root of everything. But Kabbalah teaches that thought alone is not enough. So the energy continues to flow downward. The next triad begins with Hesed, which means loving kindness. Hesed is pure giving, generosity without limits. It is the divine force of expansion, of unconditional love. In a person, it shows up as your natural impulse to give freely, to support others, to embrace. But pure giving needs balance. So next is Gevura, which means strength or judgment. Gevura is discipline, limitation, and boundaries. It is the force that says no, that sets borders, that creates structure. In you, it's the part that says enough, that applies rules, that makes sure love doesn't become chaos. Between Hesed and Gevura is Tiferet, which means beauty. Tiferet balances the two. It brings harmony between giving and restraint. It is compassion, the kind of love that includes wisdom. Tiferet is the heart. In your life, it's what allows you to make fair decisions, to love without losing your clarity. The next group begins with Netzach, which means victory or endurance. Netzach is the drive to move forward, the energy of ambition, persistence, and desire to accomplish. In you, it's the push to keep going even when things are difficult. Beside Netzach is Hod, which means splendor or humility. While Netzach moves outward, Hod reflects inward. It's the ability to listen, to surrender, to hold back. It represents thoughtfulness and sincerity. Hod teaches that victory isn't always about force. Sometimes it's about stepping aside and letting something higher work through you. Together, Netzach and Hod feed into Yesod, the foundation. Yesod gathers the energies of all the previous Sephirot and channels them toward the physical world. It is the bridge between the spiritual and the material. In you, Yesod is your emotional foundation, your subconscious, your power to connect with others and with your purpose. Finally, all of this divine energy arrives at Malkut, the kingdom. Malkut is the world you live in. It is the physical, visible reality, but it's not just dirt and stone. It's also the place where all divine energy expresses itself. Malkut is the mirror where the higher worlds become visible. In your life, Malchut is how you manifest your potential in action, how all your thoughts, emotions, and dreams turn into real choices and deeds. So the Tree of Life is not just a map of heaven, it is also a map of you. Each Sephirah is a spiritual force, but also a part of your inner life. You live between Hesed and Gevura, between love and strength. You think through Chokmah and Bina. You act through Netzach and Hod. You manifest through Malchut. And just like a ladder, the Tree of Life shows a path from the earthly to the divine, from the broken to the whole, from the outer world to the inner world. It is a guide for transformation, reminding you that you are more than what you appear to be. You are a reflection of something higher, and the entire structure of the universe lives inside you. You are not just living in one world. According to Kabbalah, you are living in 4 worlds at the same time. 4 layers of reality surround and flow through you right now, whether you know it or not. These are not science fiction dimensions or parallel universes. They are spiritual realms, each one more subtle and more divine than the one below it. The 4 worlds are called Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asaya. They are not 4 separate places. They are like layers of light, each one a different level of closeness to the divine. They are also stages in the process by which divine energy becomes the physical world. Let's start at the top with Atzilut. Atzilut is the world of emanation. This is the highest and most abstract level. In this realm, the light of the infinite still shines almost without interruption. There is no ego, no division, no I and you. Everything is still completely united with the source. It is the realm of pure divine flow where the Sephirot live in perfect harmony. You don't have independent existence here. In fact, in Atzilut, there is no sense of separation at all. It is not a place you visit with your feet or eyes, but a state of pure oneness. Only the soul's deepest root is connected to this level. Below Atzilut is Beriah, the world of creation. In Beriah, something new begins to happen, the emergence of individual existence. The divine light becomes more defined. Consciousness starts to awaken. This is the realm of the soul's deep awareness, the place where the first traces of individuality appear, though still within a spiritual framework. It's the world of higher angels, of divine intellect, of the soul's sense of being. The light is still strong, but it no longer completely overwhelms everything. There's a sense of other, though it is still very refined. Next comes Yetzirah, the world of formation. Here, the energies take on more shape and structure. Emotions arise, relationships form. The Sephirot are no longer just abstract qualities, they are dynamic forces in action. In this world, angels take on roles and tasks. This is the realm where the architecture of reality is designed, where the soul develops its emotional qualities, and where spiritual patterns begin to resemble the forms we know in the material world. Many Kabbalistic meditations work within the realm of Yetzirah, using divine names and visualizations to shape subtle realities. Finally, we reach Asaya, the world of action. This is the world you know, the world of time, space, matter, and bodies. It is the lowest and heaviest level, but also the most important. Why? Because here, and only here, you have the power to act. The upper worlds are filled with light and holiness, but they cannot change. You, living in Asaya, can choose. You can transform. You can repair. Now here is one of the most powerful teachings in all of Kabbalah. Everything you do in this world ripples upward. Every word you speak, every action you take, every thought you entertain sends shockwaves through the higher worlds. If you act with intention, love, and truth, you purify not only yourself but also the realms above you. If you act with cruelty or dishonesty, you distort the higher realms. You don't just live in the worlds, you affect them. Imagine this. When you speak kindly to someone, you're not just making their day better. You are realigning the world of Yetzirah, cleansing the forms of divine emotion. When you have a clear thought, you illuminate Beriah. When your soul longs for something higher, it touches Atzilut. And when you bring these energies down into Asaya and live them out, this is what Kabbalah calls divine service. Kabbalists believe the worlds are constantly interacting. Your thoughts create subtle patterns in the higher realms before anything happens in the physical world. If you want to change your reality, you must start above, align your thoughts, heal your emotions, then act. We are not passive beings trapped in a hard physical shell. We are multidimensional creatures connected to the very architecture of creation. The four worlds are not a theory, they are the hidden structure of your life, and every choice you make leaves an imprint across all of them. The soul begins far beyond what we can see or understand. It comes from the infinite, from a realm of pure unity, where there is no separation, no pain, and no confusion. But in order to fulfill its purpose, the soul must descend. It enters lower and lower worlds, passing through many layers of concealment until it arrives in a human body, inside time and space. Once the soul enters the body, it forgets everything. It forgets the worlds it came from. It forgets the truth of who it is. This forgetting is not a mistake. It is part of the design. Without forgetting, there could be no journey. Without exile, there could be no return. Kabbalah teaches that the purpose of life is not to gain something new, but to remember what has been forgotten. You already have the divine spark within you. The task is to uncover it. There is a story Kabbalists often use, a simple allegory that explains everything. A great king had a beloved son, a prince. One day, the king sent his son far away to a distant land, not as punishment, but as a test. The prince was sent to live among common people, without the memory of his royal origins. Years passed. The prince grew up, believing he was ordinary. He worked hard, he struggled, he even suffered. Then one day, buried in an old chest, he found a scroll written in a language he did not know he could read. The scroll spoke of a distant kingdom, a great king, and a hidden identity. Something awakened in the prince, he remembered, and from that moment, everything changed. This is the story of every soul. The body is the exile, the scroll is the wisdom, and the awakening is the purpose. Now let's move to another key teaching, reincarnation, called Gilgul in Kabbalah. Gilgul is not about punishment. It is about restoration. When a soul does not complete its task in one lifetime, it returns in another body with new circumstances. The goal is always the same: to gather the sparks, to remember the truth, to repair what was left unfinished. Sometimes a soul returns not because it did wrong, but because it wants to finish something noble. A soul might return to help others or to reconnect with another soul from a past life. According to the Kabbalists, every person you meet could be part of a long story that began centuries ago. This teaching removes the fear often associated with reincarnation. It's not about fear, it's about opportunity. You are not trapped in a cycle, you are part of a plan, a divine rhythm. Each life is a step toward greater clarity, greater unity with the Source. Kabbalah also teaches that not all souls are the same. Some are older, some are newer, some carry specific missions. And some souls are part of a larger collective group sent to influence the world in a certain way. But all souls, without exception, are rooted in the infinite. All souls have a purpose. And every life is a chance to move closer to that purpose. The soul's journey is not linear. It moves through birth and death, through joy and pain, through remembering and forgetting. But always, it is pulled upward. Even when it appears lost, it is still being guided. And so, Kabbalah says, your longings are not random. Your dreams are not meaningless. They are echoes of what your soul remembers. You may not understand them fully, but they are guiding you back. Each moment of awareness, each act of kindness, each struggle endured with dignity, these are not small things. They are steps on the path of return. The soul was sent to forget so that one day it would remember. The Hebrew alphabet is not just a writing system. In Kabbalah, it is a spiritual technology. Each letter is a living force, a vibration that shapes reality. Kabbalists teach that when God created the world, He didn't use physical tools, He used letters. Words like "let there be light" weren't just poetry, they were actual creative forces. Every letter, every word spoken by the divine carried a specific spiritual energy that built something in the universe. The Hebrew letters are 22 in number. Each one has a unique energy, sound, shape, and numerical value. Together, they form the basic code of creation. This is why Kabbalists often meditate not on images or symbols, but on letters and words, because they believe that by connecting with these divine vibrations, they are reaching into the structure of reality itself. Let's take the letter Aleph. It is silent. It represents unity, the breath before speech, the formless source. Then comes Bet, which begins the first word of the Torah, Bereshit, meaning in the beginning. Bet represents duality, the beginning of division, the creation of this world. The progression of letters tells a hidden story, from unity to multiplicity, from spirit to form, from silence to sound. Kabbalists believe that by understanding the letters, one can return to the source. That's why some spend years studying and meditating on just one divine name made up of a few Hebrew letters. They don't picture gods or sacred animals. Instead, they focus on combinations like Yod-He Vav-He, the most sacred name of God, because each letter in that name is a doorway to a different aspect of the divine. Now we move to another powerful tool, Gematria, the sacred science of numbers. In Hebrew, every letter is also a number. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Gimel is 3, and so on. This means that every Hebrew word also has a numerical value. And here is where the magic begins. Kabbalists compare the numbers of different words to uncover secret relationships between them. For example, the Hebrew word for love is ahava, spelled Aleph, 1, He, 5, Bet, 2, and He, 5. Add those numbers together and you get 13. Now take the word Eshad, which means one. It's spelled Aleph, 1, Chet, 8, and Dale, 4. That also adds up to 13. The conclusion? Love and oneness are not just related, they are the same essence in numerical form. True love is unity. This isn't just number games. For the Kabbalist, it's proof that the universe is built on an intelligent design. There are no coincidences. Every word, every number, every letter has meaning. They believe that even the smallest change in a letter or vowel can shift the flow of energy in a prayer or a sacred text. Another example, the word Chai, meaning life, is made of the letters Chet, 8, and Yod, 10. Together, they make 18. That's why the number 18 is sacred in Jewish tradition. Donations are often made in multiples of 18, not for luck, but because giving connects the giver to the divine force of life itself. The teachings of Kabbalah take this even deeper. They say that by using divine names, sacred words, and correct pronunciation, one can align their soul with higher realms. The right words spoken with focus and purity can open gates of spiritual perception. That's why ancient Kabbalists were cautious with their speech. Words were not just communication. They were tools of creation. So when you see Hebrew letters in a Kabbalistic book or hear about sacred names being whispered during meditation, understand that it's not superstition, it's a precise spiritual science. The letters are the DNA of the universe. The numbers reveal its patterns, and the words are the keys that unlock its hidden doors. Thank you for watching. If you want to go deeper into ancient teachings and sacred knowledge, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next.